and welcome back to my special two-part episode for holiday appetizers. Last time we were making mini tarts filled with quiche and spinach ricotta filling, and today we're making delicious crab wontons and puff pastry crab spirals. And I love this recipe for the holiday seasons because crabs are in season right now. And I also like it because the simple and delicious filling can be used for both the wontons and the puff pastry spirals. For filling, we're going to need 2 cups of real crab, and I prefer to use real crab, especially during the holiday seasons because it's not too expensive. We're also going to need 1.5 cups of whipped cream cheese. Now I like whipped cream cheese because it's airy and it doesn't make the filling too dense. If you have regular cream cheese, you can use that as well. We're going to need 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. We're going to need 1.5 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. We're going to need 1 large avocado, 4 green onions diced, and then for seasonings, we're gonna need 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of each of ground black pepper and paprika. And now for our wrappings, we're gonna need some wonton wrappers, and we're gonna need 1 sheet of puff pastry. Now, if you wanna make one or the other, you can just use 2 sheets of puff pastry, and you can just use additional wonton wrappers. The recipe is very simple. All we have to do is just combine everything together. I'm gonna add my crab, my cream cheese, my mayo, and I like to add mayo to this recipe because it makes it extra creamy, and then some Dijon mustard, also add lots of flavor, our Worcestershire sauce, our seasoning, and that paprika adds just a little bit of that red color to the recipe, and then our chopped green onions. And then I've diced my avocado into small little pieces, and we're going to add that as well. And we're just going to take our spatula and combine everything together. And you want to fold all the ingredients together until the mixture is uniform and smooth. Now, if you want to make just the puff pastry crab spirals, you can use this entire filling recipe, just spread it evenly across 2 puff pastry sheets. Or if you want to make both appetizers, just divide the filling in half, and then we're going to save the rest for our wontons. So we're going to start out by making our puff pastry crab spirals. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and I've lined a baking sheet with some parchment paper. You don't want them to stick to your pan. And I've thawed out a sheet of puff pastry, and we're just going to unfold it onto our work surface. Like this. And then we're going to spread our filling evenly across the surface, and you want to spread it to all the edges. Just use a spatula to spread it out. And this is a really great and simple recipe if you're short on time, and it's really quick to make. Spread our filling evenly across the puff pastry sheet. We're going to roll the sheet into a log. So we'll just start at one end and just carefully lift the dough and roll it at the same time. You don't want to roll it too tightly so that the filling doesn't come out of the ends. Just like this. And we're going to take a sharp knife and we're going to cut into 1-inch sections. It's almost like cutting a sushi roll. Once you're done cutting the log, we just want to transfer the spirals onto our parchment paper, and you can reshape them on the parchment paper because I know that cutting the actual log can sometimes be hard, so you can just reshape them and then place them onto our parchment paper. Bake our puff pastry crab spirals in our preheated oven at 350 degrees until they turn golden brown. Just took my crab spirals out of the oven and they look amazing. Just the aroma from them is mouth-watering. And that last minute, I put them under the broiler for just a minute, just to crisp up the top and give it a nice golden brown color. Just gonna take it off our parchment paper here and place it onto a cooling rack so they can cool all the way before we serve them. And now for a crab wonton recipe. This is a really simple and delicious recipe that's always a really big hit at my parties, and they're actually really simple to put together. We're gonna need our crab filling that we prepared earlier, and then we're gonna need little wonton wrappers. And these are super thin pastry dough wrappers that you can find at your local grocery store. We're gonna need a pastry brush and some water, and then these wontons are deep fried. So we're gonna need about 4 cups of oil, and you can either use a canola or a vegetable oil, whatever you have on hand. Preparing our wontons is actually really quite simple. So we want to dip our pastry brush into the water, and we want to brush the entire surface of the wonton wrapper. And we're going to place about a tablespoon of filling into the center. And then we want to bring the edges up and form a square. So we're going to bring 2 edges up first, and we're going to bring up the sides, and that water really helps to seal the dough together. Like this. So you have a little square wonton, and then I like to keep them on a paper towel just so they don't stick to your work surface and they're easier to transfer into your oil like that. So we're going to prepare all the wontons first, and then we're going to heat our oil and deep fry these. We have our appetizers all done now, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed this special 2-part holiday appetizer segment. So here we have our quiche and then our spinach ricotta filled tarts, and I also have my puff pastry crab spirals cooling on the cooling rack, and I just took out my crab wontons out of the hot oil, and I have them here draining on a plate lined with a paper towel just to absorb all that excess oil. I'm going to give one of these crab spirals a try. That puff pastry just literally melts in your mouth, almost like a croissant, and then that crab gives it such a great seafood flavor, one of my favorite appetizers. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and then make sure to subscribe to my channel, and you'll get updates every single time I post videos, and you can also find recipes like this one on my website.